Stop scrolling. Yes, you. This moment was intercepted on purpose. There are thousands of videos you could have landed on, yet your finger paused here. Not because of coincidence. Not because of curiosity alone. But because heaven timed this interruption precisely for your heart. On a day when love is marketed, compared, and measured, God stepped in to speak directly to you. This is not about human romance. This is not about flowers or messages that fade by morning. This is about a love that watched you cry in silence, and stayed. Right now, there is a quiet ache in you that few people see. You've learned how to smile through it. You've learned how to distract yourself when Valentine's Day presses on old wounds, memories, delays, unanswered prayers. But the ache didn't come from nowhere. It came from caring deeply, from hoping honestly, from believing longer than most people would. And heaven noticed. Archangel Michael's presence surrounds this message with authority, not softness, because your heart does not need pity. It needs truth. And here is the truth being delivered with precision. God has not overlooked your love story. He has been guarding it. There were moments you thought you were forgotten. Moments when you wondered why others were chosen before you, why doors opened for them while yours remained closed. You questioned your worth. You questioned your timing. Some nights, you even questioned God, quietly, respectfully, but painfully. What you didn't see was the restraint. What you didn't see was the intervention. There were connections that would have damaged your future if they had lasted. There were emotions that felt right but would have cost you peace. There were promises made to you by people who were not ready to keep them. And every time something fell apart, heaven stepped in, not to punish you, but to protect you. This Valentine message is not wrapped in sweetness. It is wrapped in authority. Because you are not late. You are not behind. You are not lacking. You were withheld. Withheld from settling. Withheld from attachment that would have drained you. Withheld from loving someone who would have loved the idea of you, but not the depth of you. And here is where the message sharpens. The reason this season felt longer than expected is because God was aligning not just a person, but a version of you that could sustain the blessing without shrinking. You asked for love, yes. But heaven heard the deeper request: safety, consistency, truth, and peace. Those things do not arrive rushed. Right now, as this message reaches you, something is shifting internally. Not dramatically. Quietly. A soft release of pressure. A gentle reminder that you are seen. That the silence had purpose. That the waiting was not wasted. And if this resonates, if something inside you whispered, "This is for me," pause for just a second. Let that recognition settle. You don't need to comment. You don't need to explain. Just stay present. Even liking or subscribing quietly is enough to signal alignment without breaking this sacred moment. Because what's coming next is not comfort. It's clarity. In the next breath of this message, Archangel Michael reveals why the delay ends differently than you expect, and why this Valentine's Day marks a turning point that most people will miss, but you were meant to hear. Stay with this. Do not scroll. Because the next part explains who was removed, what was blocked, and why love is about to arrive in a form you never prayed for, but desperately needed. Listen carefully now, because the atmosphere around this message just shifted. What you felt before was reassurance. What you're about to receive is revelation. There are things that were intentionally removed from your life that you still grieve as losses, but heaven marks them as rescues. You've replayed certain endings in your mind, wondering what you did wrong, why it couldn't work, why love slipped through your hands just when you thought it was finally safe to hold. But hear this without resistance. Not everything that left you was meant to stay. Some things exited because they were never aligned to grow with you. You were protected from becoming smaller just to keep someone close. You were spared from chasing affection that required you to abandon your discernment. And you were preserved from attaching your future to someone who admired your light, but was threatened by it. That is not rejection. That is divine interruption. There were conversations you were never meant to finish. Plans you were never meant to fulfill. Promises you were never meant to wait on. And the reason those doors closed without explanation is because explanations would have tempted you to reopen what God sealed permanently. This is where many people misunderstand love. They think love proves itself by endurance, by staying even when it hurts. But heaven defines love differently. Love is what remains after peace is preserved, not sacrificed. Love does not demand that you betray your intuition to prove your loyalty. You didn't fail at love. You outgrew what could not follow you. And now, this Valentine's Day marks a line of separation. Not between you and someone else, but between who you were and who you are becoming. Something has been loosening in your spirit lately. You may not have words for it, but you feel it. Old attachments no longer grip you the same way. Memories still exist, but they don't control you. The ache has softened, not because time erased it, but because truth replaced illusion. And here is the truth being spoken with authority. The version of you that begged for consistency is gone. The version of you that tolerated emotional confusion is gone. The version of you that waited in uncertainty is gone. What stands now is someone refined, someone quieter, someone stronger, someone who no longer needs love to prove their worth, but is ready to receive love that recognizes it instantly. This is why the timing matters. If love had arrived earlier, you would have carried it with fear. If it had come sooner, you would have overextended yourself trying to protect it. But now, you are ready to receive without losing yourself. That is not accidental. And yes, there is movement happening that you cannot yet see. Not a rush. Not chaos. Alignment. Subtle conversations. Internal nudges. Quiet shifts in circumstances. All of it calibrated with precision. You are not being prepared for disappointment. You are being positioned for recognition. And as this message deepens, let yourself stay present. Let the words land. Even something as simple as staying with the video, or gently supporting the channel, keeps this flow uninterrupted without pulling you out of the moment. Because what comes next is the part most people never hear. The reason Valentine's Day has felt heavy for you is because your spirit knew this was not a reminder of lack, but a signal of transition. A closing chapter. A final echo of what no longer defines you. Stay here for a moment. What follows is not explanation, it is recognition. Love does not approach you the way it used to, because you are no longer the same. It will not be chased. It will not need effort. It will recognize you the moment it arrives. And there will be no confusion this time. No guessing. No instability. A clear sign will confirm it, quiet, undeniable, and protected. When you hear what comes next, the waiting will finally make sense. There is a moment, quiet, almost unremarkable, when searching stops without you realizing it. Not because you gave up. Not because you hardened your heart. But because something inside you finally settled. That is when love begins to move toward you. You were taught that love is found through effort, pursuit, strategy, and patience stretched to its limit. But that teaching was incomplete. True alignment does not arrive exhausted. It arrives calm. It arrives without the anxiety of proving yourself or performing to be chosen. This is why everything shifted when you stopped trying to make things work. The moment you released the need to chase, you unknowingly changed the signal you were sending into the spiritual realm. You stopped broadcasting urgency and began emitting readiness. You stopped asking to be chosen and began standing as someone who already knows their value. That is when love recognizes you. Not because you announced yourself. Not because you demanded clarity. But because clarity already lived in you. This next connection does not enter your life with confusion. It does not come wrapped in mixed signals or emotional fog. It does not keep you guessing where you stand. The reason is simple: anything protected by God does not require you to fight for peace. Peace is the confirmation. And here is the sign you have been waiting for, though you may not have known how to name it. When this love approaches, your nervous system will not tighten. Your spirit will not brace itself. Your intuition will not warn you. Instead, there will be a sense of recognition, as if something long awaited has finally arrived without noise. You will not feel the need to rush. You will not feel pressure to define everything immediately. You will feel steady, grounded, clear. This is how you know it is protected, not tested. In the past, love entered your life as a trial. It challenged your self-worth. It demanded endurance. It forced you to negotiate your boundaries for closeness. But that season has ended. The reason heaven delayed your arrival was not to see how much pain you could tolerate, but to ensure you would never confuse intensity with intimacy again. You no longer mistake anxiety for excitement. You no longer confuse potential with promise. You no longer interpret inconsistency as mystery. That discernment was costly, but it was necessary. And now, something else is happening beneath the surface. Conversations are being aligned. Paths are being redirected. Decisions you didn't make consciously are being guided subtly. You might notice delays, reschedules, chance encounters that feel oddly precise. These are not coincidences. They are calibrations. Because when love finds you now, it must find the current version of you. Not the one who would have overgiven, overexplained, or overextended. This is why Archangel Michael's presence carries authority in this moment. Not to comfort you, but to confirm what is already in motion. You are not entering a season of emotional guessing. You are entering a season of mutual recognition. And let this be said clearly, you will not need to chase clarity this time. Clarity will meet you halfway. Effort will be shared. Intention will be visible. Consistency will not need to be negotiated. That is the protection. If you feel a quiet yes rising inside you as these words unfold, don't analyze it away. That response is alignment, not imagination. Staying with this message, supporting it gently, remaining present, is enough to keep this moment undisturbed. Because there is still one layer left to reveal. You see, the peace you're stepping into is not passive. It is intentional. And it comes with a responsibility. To recognize when something is right instead of chasing what feels familiar. In the final movement of this message, Archangel Michael reveals what you must not do when love arrives, the subtle mistake that delays fulfillment even after alignment, and the one inner shift that allows this chapter to seal permanently. Do not assume you already know this part. Because what ends seasons is not arrival, it is recognition. Stay here. The next revelation changes everything. What you are about to hear is not what most people expect. Because when love finally arrives in alignment, the greatest danger is no longer loss, it is habit. There is a reflex formed in you from past seasons. A reflex to overgive. To overexplain. To move faster than peace requires. That reflex was built in survival, not in alignment. And if left unexamined, it can quietly interfere even when God has already confirmed the connection. This is why this message matters now. When love approaches you in this season, it will not ask you to prove yourself. It will not pressure you to hurry intimacy. It will not trigger the old urgency that once lived in your chest. And the moment you feel the impulse to force momentum, that is your cue to pause, not because something is wrong, but because something is right. Protected love grows differently. It does not rush toward intensity. It builds through consistency. It unfolds without anxiety. The mistake many people make is assuming that peace means passivity. It does not. Peace requires awareness. It requires restraint. It requires trusting that what is aligned does not need to be managed. You are not meant to control this next chapter. You are meant to receive it. And this is where Archangel Michael's authority presses gently but firmly. Do not return to old patterns simply because they are familiar. Do not confuse silence with disinterest. Do not test what God has already confirmed. This love does not need to be tested. Testing comes from fear. Protection comes from trust. If you feel tempted to create scenarios in your mind, to predict outcomes, to guard yourself by pulling away or over-functioning, recognize that impulse for what it is, residue from a season that has already ended. You are no longer preparing for disappointment. You are preparing for stability. And stability feels unfamiliar at first. It may feel quiet where there used to be chaos. It may feel slow where there used to be urgency. It may feel simple where there used to be complexity. Do not misinterpret that simplicity as lack of depth. Depth does not always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it reveals itself through reliability. There is another truth being spoken now, one that carries weight. Your heart does not need to be guarded the way it once did. Not because you are careless, but because discernment now lives within you. You will know when something is misaligned without needing to suffer through it. And you will know when something is right without needing to interrogate it. That is maturity. That is preparation fulfilled. And if this message is resonating deeply, if it feels like something unseen is being named, pause here without breaking the atmosphere. Some viewers choose, quietly and without pressure, to use the super thanks button below as a symbolic act of alignment. Not as payment, not as obligation, but as a gentle way of saying, I receive this confirmation. There is no requirement, only intention. Because heaven responds to intention. Now hear this clearly. The season you are entering is not fragile. It does not depend on perfection. It does not collapse under questions. What will sustain it is your willingness to remain present instead of predictive. Let love reveal itself over time. Let trust build naturally. Let peace be enough. You do not need to relive old endings to stay alert. You do not need to rehearse past pain to stay wise. Wisdom has already been earned. And this is why Valentine's Day is not mocking you, it is marking you. Marking the end of striving. Marking the close of emotional probation. Marking the moment where love stops being something you hope for and starts becoming something you recognize. But there is one final truth left. One instruction that determines whether this alignment settles permanently or passes by quietly. It is subtle. Easy to miss. And it has nothing to do with the other person. In the final movement of this message, Archangel Michael reveals the inner decision that seals this chapter, the posture that keeps peace intact, and why this time, there will be no need to recover, only to continue. Stay with this. Because what you choose next matters more than what arrives. Now listen, this is where everything settles. What seals this chapter is not who arrives, how it begins, or how long it takes to unfold. What seals it is an inner decision you make quietly, without announcement, without ceremony. A decision to remain present instead of bracing. To stay open without overreaching. To allow peace to lead without questioning whether you deserve it. This is the posture that keeps alignment intact. In previous seasons, you prepared yourself for love by guarding your heart tightly, rehearsing what could go wrong, and managing expectations so disappointment would hurt less. That strategy kept you safe then, but it is not what will sustain you now. This season requires a different strength. The strength to trust what feels steady. The strength to let good things be simple. The strength to stop scanning for danger when there is none. And this strength does not come from effort. It comes from surrender, not surrender to another person, but surrender to timing that has already proven itself faithful. Archangel Michael's authority rests here, not to command you outwardly, but to anchor you inwardly. Because the final shift is internal. You must decide that peace is no longer something you visit temporarily, but something you live in permanently. When love arrives, it will not announce itself with drama. It will integrate. It will blend into your life without demanding rearrangement of your values. It will honor your pace. It will respect your boundaries without you having to defend them. And here is the unmistakable confirmation. You will not feel the need to recover from this connection. No emotional cleanup. No self-repair. No rebuilding of confidence afterward. You will simply continue, stronger, calmer, clearer. That is how you know this chapter is sealed. And if you notice an unfamiliar stillness as these words land, do not rush to fill it. That stillness is not emptiness. It is space, space created because striving has ended. This is what Valentine's Day was pointing toward all along. Not comparison. Not lack. But a quiet recognition that you are no longer waiting from a place of longing. You are waiting from a place of readiness. And readiness attracts what is real. Some of you listening now feel drawn to go deeper, to remain in environments where this kind of clarity is nurtured consistently. For those who feel that pull, there is a gentle option to join the channel's membership, not as access to privilege, but as a way to stay rooted in messages that strengthen discernment, peace, and spiritual authority over time. It is entirely optional, pressure-free, and simply there for those who want continued alignment and deeper reflection. Because this message is not meant to be consumed once and forgotten. It is meant to recalibrate how you recognize what comes next. Now hear this final truth without fear. Nothing aligned will pass you by. What is meant for you does not require pursuit. What is protected does not disappear. What is timed by God does not arrive too late. And if, after everything you've heard, your spirit feels quiet rather than excited, that is your sign. Excitement fades. Peace remains. This chapter does not end with you proving anything. It ends with you receiving what no longer needs to be earned. So stay open. Stay grounded. Stay present. You are not stepping into uncertainty. You are stepping into recognition. And this time, you will know.